Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Biters episode of 2014. Woohoo! What?
Yeah, baby.
Biters, the official podcast of Walking Dead and zombie analysis and chatting and ruminations and news and everything in pop culture we can talk about. Clearly there's not a Walking Dead episode this week, so we just figured they're not going to be back till, February?
February 9th.
So Kirk and I figured that we would do a little special extra and talk about zombie movies that we've seen, some books, talk about comics, and just other things in pop culture that have popped up. If you need a refresher as to who I am, I'm Jeff Marsick, writer of the two independent comic books, Z-Girl and the Four Tigers and Dead Man's Party. And with me is my partner in crime and artist extraordinaire, Kirk Manley.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
So, it's 2014.
Did you have a good New Year?
I think it was nice because it was spent in front of a TV.
I was going to say what you can remember of it.
Let's see, there was drinking involved.
Yes.
I started a
Adult
movie.
beverages.
It was good.
We just hung home.
And we mocked all the people that were freezing their butts off in New York
Times Square. Yeah, that was a cold one, man.
So, so Kirk and I, we've been spending our off time from Walking Dead, reading zombie comics and watching zombie movies and, just kind of keeping up on what's going on. So we're just going to fill you in on, what we've been up to.
So first we thought we'd talk a little bit about the comic book, because Walking Dead comic, the comic the show is based on. Obviously, we touch base on it usually every week. We do a show a little bit, but we've never kind of really spent a decent amount of time on it. So we thought maybe this would be a good chance to do that. I think the last issue we talked about was 116. So we were going to talk about 117, 118, and maybe a little bit of 119.
So hold on a second. So 119 came out last week, 2 weeks ago.
I want to say 2 weeks ago, because I think the next one is due this week, but I'm not 100% positive. I'm pretty sure of that.
Okay. So if you're listening and you don't want to be spoiled about these issues, just fast forward a little bit and catch up to the next thing we talk about.
Right. And so now you've read through 118, you think, right?
I think I'm up to 118. Yeah, I think I'm just one behind.
Okay. So 117, I thought one of the interesting. Well, first let's talk just a little bit about what do you think of the ongoing storyline with the big war so far?
So far, it feels pretty dragged out. It's like I feel like this is it's taken too long to develop, and they're just a couple of those issues have just kind of felt like we're just running in place, and we're not really moving the story ahead. Negan surprises me that he's almost passive in this, that he's just kind of sitting back and just waiting, when the war starts, that when he gets antagonized, that he just kind of sits back and just lets Rick, make the moves, which I thought was kind of, not the Negan that we got exposed to or introduced to in the beginning.
Yeah, I think the way I interpreted that is that this is a different villain than, say, the governor. This guy is sadistic and crazy and evil, but he's also smart and ruthless and calculating in a way that the governor in the comic book wasn't. And the governor in the comic really got emotionally involved or emotionally reacted to everything. And the way I interpret what you're talking about is that Negan is kind of like, he doesn't really want to have a war. He's not, because it's going to screw everything up. You know what I mean? He's
Okay.
got this good situation going. He's got everyone intimidated to the point where they're, giving him half of everything, and it's all working good for him. And he's trying desperately to try and make that status quo stay that way. So that's why he's not doing anything too dramatic or too drastic with Rick, like trying to kill him and everything, because he's afraid that'll just turn everybody against, it'll just create a war. But a war started anyway, and now he's just kind of trying to like mediate that. And at least I think in 17 and 18 that's the case. By the end of 19, you'll see things have changed dramatically.
Okay.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
And that's the part that we've been waiting for. So what is this? It's a 12-part, right?
Yes, I think it's 12 part.
So we're on, what part are we on now? We passed the halfway point?
Yeah, 115 was the start. So we're at 119. So that's 4 issues in. So no, we're not. We're a little bit shy of halfway.
Wow. So if it's on already at
yeah,
roughly
yeah,
halfway.
I didn't feel it was dragging the way you did, but I did feel like, how is this gonna work for 12 issues? It's like, it's not like they have militaries and huge space that they're, or geographic space that they're working over, and they're moving chess pieces on a military board,
Right.
I mean, this is good. They got basically three camps, and they're all just like within vicinity of each other. They should be just kind of like all out hailstorm for a couple days until there's nobody left. But so I am concerned about that. But for right now, it's moving pretty good. For me. I wanted to also get your opinion on from an artistic point of view, because they've incorporated a inker, whereas Adler has always inked his own work.
Yeah.
And have you noticed anything about it? Have you felt anything about that? What's your take on that?
No, I not really. It didn't seem to. Now that you bring it up, it's like one of those things where I guess I have to. Yeah, I guess I did notice that they had an inker, but I don't think it really drew away from.
That's good.
The reading experience. How about you?
Yeah, I think that he's done a really good job. His name is Stefano Gaudiano Guadiano.
Well, if anybody's going to butcher a name, it'll be you. So,
but I think he does a good job. I think he's doing a really good job trying very hard to be consistent with Adler's look.
Yeah.
You can tell that there's really an effort being put in to make it look seamless. I feel like there are places where it's not. It's getting better. By issue 19, I feel like it's much, much better than when it started out. But far away faces in general, and far away faces especially, you could really see a difference in the technique.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that, but it's definitely getting better, and he's doing a pretty damn good job of emulating Adler's style. So
you saw. So what was the issue we had talked about? You had it. It was the one issue where they deviated in the storytelling style.
Yeah, 118.
That annoyed you.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. That's next. That's 118. Also in 117, story-wise, I thought, what did you think of the whole thing with Holly? I think it's Holly, isn't it? Yeah, Holly. And the whole, how Negan steps in before his soldier can rape her.
I read something like that, and what I see is I just see classic psychological warfare. Like, I see this guy who's, clearly he's a nut job, but then,
right.
He steps in and saves her at like the last moment. Is like, that's not what we do here. And so, he's good cop and bad cop. And he's such a great character for just messing with people's heads. I mean, look at one of his henchmen is a guy whose face that he burned. Right?
Right. The guy that's turning on him. Right.
Yeah. But it's taken this long for that guy to turn on him. I mean, and the fact that he's got, Negan is a David Koresh type, a Jim Jones, he's got these, he's able to do this. And this, so when I see a scene like that, I just see Holly being susceptible to his, to his ways, to his influence. And so when I get done with that, all I do is I'm like, she's going to be a soldier, she's going to be a convert to his side. That's my guess.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil you, but I don't know about that.
I'll take it. Well, I'll take it as nice try, but no.
Yeah, the thing that blew me away in that scene was, I totally agree with you, and I think that he's willing to mess with people's minds to such a degree that he's willing to sacrifice anybody for whatever his purpose is.
Right.
So here's this guy that, he's saying, first of all, he's kidnapped her. Like that isn't bad enough, you know what I mean? But he's going to draw the line at this rape thing. This is totally unacceptable. And then he takes that knife out and just jams it into the guy's throat.
Yeah.
And just kills him to make the point complete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just you live by my rules or you die. And that was a wild. I thought it was such a wild scene. And here's this poor woman. In one breath, she's being saved by somebody from this horror that she was going to have to endure, which is probably, it's like such relief. And then she's got to sit there and watch him kill this guy that way. It was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I'm out of the pan and into the fire. But, so yeah. So then 118 comes along and man, they lost me at 118. First of all, I love that freaking cat.
Oh,
I love Sasha, and they killed her.
Sasha or Shiva?
Shiva, and they killed her right away.
I know.
Sasha's the sister on on the show, and I just thought, man, that's just too fast.
Yeah.
I wish they'd kept that, but that was the first thing. But then, the issue that you were alluding to is that 118 starts off with Maggie confronting the leader of the hilltop. And, that was pretty funny, actually. She just like totally rakes him over the coals. And she has a couple funny lines. What are the two lines in that? She says, he interrupts her and she says, "Shut up or I'll punch you again." After she had knocked him out. Then she had her whole speech and he starts to, "Well, that isn't actually true. Shut up or I'll punch you again." And then the whole thing about the "I believe in Rick Grimes." And, it really, it felt like they really gave her some backbone and she was, stepping up, and it was very much in the consistent.
Comic Maggie's so much better than Walking Dead Maggie.
Consistent with the way that he's always done stories. And then the next page you turn and all of a sudden we get caption boxes with somebody talking, and we get this story that they're telling, and we're seeing the whole battle that Rick's having, and then it moves into Ezekiel's battle, and you realize that we're hearing Ezekiel talk about it in a past tense. And it just floored me, because I just felt like, what's always made Walking Dead so riveting is the fact that you're following along and participating.
Yeah, you're a voyeur. You're along for the ride.
Yeah, but you're almost participating.
Right.
It's like you're there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's you're being in the moment of the characters, and it's what made it riveting. What makes it riveting, I think. And as soon as he chose to show us flashbacks and having them told in captions, which he's never done before,
right,
it completely removed us as readers as the participants, and instead we're just observers watching something that's past tense. And to me, it just all of a sudden made it less scary, less riveting, less dramatic. Now I was safe. I was a person sitting reading a story, like a novel. Right. So, and for 118 issues prior, they've never done that I can remember. So, it'd be like in the way I came up with a comparison in my head was that if all of a sudden you turn the page and they ran a sequence in the middle of the book and it was in color.
Right.
be like, what the hell is this?
Right.
You know what I mean? I just thought I didn't really understand, and it was totally unnecessary. I mean, what he was describing, it would have been if he had just shown what they drew, if we had just seen what was drawn, and he could have been saying things that he was saying to her real time.
Right.
So I don't know. What was your feeling? What was your reaction?
I didn't. It was noticeable too. It didn't jar me as much as it did you, but it was a style that you weren't used to, and there were a couple times when you get a couple pages into it, and because it's being told, in the past, you're kind of like, what did you miss? You wonder if someone's, relaying a story to somebody else, and you keep looking for that endpoint, and then we're gonna, jump back to the regular storytelling, method, and so at the end, like I see what he was doing, and I like you, I kind of question why he did that with this issue. If it was a pivotal issue, if something big happened, and you want to do it, kind of like the gravity of the situation, I get that, but this wasn't one of those. So I'm with you. I question why it was done.
Yeah, I think that you're right. If there was a rationale for it, if there was nothing about that sequence that said to me it needed to be done this way to be most effective.
Right.
One, two. If he was going to do that, he probably should have done the whole book that way, just to make a statement of, I'm doing this book differently. This issue is going to be done differently, and it's going to be a past tense story told with captions, and then we're going to find out at the end, who's talking or whatever. But just arbitrarily thrown in the middle, it didn't throw me for a loop in terms of the storytelling. But you're not the first one to have made that. I heard that also on some other podcasts of some other people that were, they got jarred. Like, you go from the headshot of Maggie and her speech, and then all of a sudden, there's these guys running and shooting, and there's this caption going on, and you're like, what the hell? Where did we just go?
Yeah.
But that didn't bother me. I kind of was able to pick up on that, but it just, from style wise, it just really bothered me. I just didn't see any point to it, any reason to it, and I felt it just took us right out of the being participants and being instead observers, and that just made it less effective for me. Did you notice also the back page of 118? There's a huge full page ad for Dearbont's Mob City show on TNT.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. It was funny though, because it didn't say anything about the actors or being Frank Dearbont's creation. It just said Mob City, and it had a picture of the guy that plays Shane and everything else. So just thought that was pretty funny.
I tell you, that was a boring show.
Oh really? I didn't watch it.
Oh my Lord, it was. They played the first episode was 2 episodes together, so it was 2 hours long. And I being a crime writer and liking noir like I do, I normally tear through that stuff. It took me like 4 days to get through that. It just was like, there wasn't anything really new there. The thing is that the standout person was Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg plays it takes place in the post-war and post-war California, Vegas area. And Simon Pegg plays a 2-bit magician, and he gets involved with the mob and whatnot. But he doesn't play with a British accent. He's playing with a regular set piece accent, like he's from that area.
Right.
Holy cow, he was fantastic.
Wow.
Just like the standout character of that, and the show had some big names. You had John Bernthal from Shane from Walking Dead. You had the old guy who's Darabont's friend who got killed. The guy with the truck.
Yeah.
He was on it. You also had oh man, I can't remember his name, but he was one of the guys from. He's done a bunch of shows. He was one of the guys from Band of Brothers, and he's done some other shows. So I mean, there's some good names on there, and Milo Ventimiglia, whatever his name is, the dude from Heroes and some other shows, and
Peter. That's Peter, right?
Peter Ventimiglia, and Simon Pegg was awesome, just awesome. Of course, he gets rubbed out after he gets rubbed out in in the first episode. So,
oh jeez. How many episodes did they do so far?
Man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up, and I just remember the ratings weren't all that great. So I don't know what it's. I got to do some research and figure out what it's.
I'll tell you, just from the previews, there was just nothing. I agree with you. There was nothing new, or nothing that had never. We haven't seen a million times before.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was just totally uninterested. You
didn't miss anything.
Yeah. Now, in contrast, Helix, which has had 3 episodes so far, blew my freaking doors off. I highly recommend that show. I would tell everybody to definitely binge on that one. But it's done by the guy who did Battlestar Galactica.
Yep.
And it's produced by the folks that produced X-Files. And it's got both the best qualities of that show, along with some other stuff that's definitely influencing it. But it's fast-paced. It never drags. What I also liked is each episode is so far, and I don't know if they're going to change this, but stylistically is a day. So it starts off with day 1, and that's the first episode. Day 2 is the second episode. Day 3, and it's cool because it's an outbreak. So you really that can move at a blistering speed, and you don't need weeks in order to have that thing kind of evolve. It's evolving on a daily basis. The sets are great. It's a super paranoid, nerve-wracking show. You don't there's everybody's got secrets. There's this horrible virus. They're set up in this base that's on the 38th parallel, so there's no geographic ownership. No government has any particular control of that area or something, I guess. So they're kind of a free agent company out there, and it's cool. There's this great sense of dread, and the acting was tight. I thought, like I said, the story pace moved well. The characters were great. I thought. The disease is cool. It's got this zombie quality to it. It's this virus that drives its hosts to spread itself. They're not eating people, so it's not a traditional zombie, and they're kind of more like the 28 Days. They get kind of almost super powered a little bit.
Okay.
They've got this black oozing stuff that comes out of them, and they jump on you and start trying to make out with you basically to get the black ooze into you.
That's hot.
Yeah, it's wild. It's really wild. And some awesome editing, great camera shots, totally kind of unique and different stuff. The music stands out hugely, and they've clearly been influenced by Breaking Bad, because they've just got these unnerving juxtapositions. There's a sequence where a guy has got the disease and he's trying to get out, and they've got this again, this is going to be, I guess this is be a spoiler, so I don't know, maybe I shouldn't, but anyway, I'll just say the music is really cool. They use a lot of juxtaposition of untraditional songs that don't fit traditionally with with this kind of a scene, which is a totally scary or gruesome scene, and you've got this jovial kind of do you know the way to San Jose? I'm going back to meanwhile there's this horrible scene going on, so it just felt to me very much like it was influenced from Breaking Bad. So highly recommend you check it out.
Well, I give it a week, and Southgate Media will probably have a podcast about it. So,
well, it's funny. I mentioned in a Facebook exchange, I think you were on it. I'm not sure, but just that Helix was a show we should consider, and Rob wrote back and said, yeah, do it. You should do it. Go ahead. What are you going to do? You're going to do it. I'll get somebody to do it with you, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, let's see how it is. So, I don't know. I don't have time to do that, but I definitely, it would definitely be worth it if somebody wanted to do that, because the show is good. Now, whether it'll be able, I think, the big concerns are, how are they going to keep up an ongoing full season show, or series with this single environment that they're in, and this limited cast that they have, and this horrific disease that's spreading. I think they're going to have to, much like Walking Dead, had the farm and then moved on to the prison and this and that. They can't stay at this one location, or else I think it'll really it'll die. But it'll have to move on out to the main population and everything else, I would think. But that would be my only concern for its future, would be, is there enough to do there? Unless they spread out, I don't think there is. But, so definitely recommend that.
All right, I got to check it out. It's sitting on my DVR. I got to catch up.
One other, just backtracking 1 second. There was one other thing I want to mention in the comics. I pulled a bunch of the trades and started reading them to catch up on stuff that's going to probably happen in season 4. So like the trades from the point where the prison falls on. And so I got to see or reread the introduction of Abraham and his crew.
Oh yeah.
And there was a sequence, and I was like, oh shit, where Abraham refers to the walkers as zombies. And I was like, that must have been a slip. So I went back and tried to find it again. I read it about 4 weeks ago, and I went back tonight to try and locate it. I couldn't locate it yet. I think it's in volume 10, but I couldn't find it again. But I will. But it's pretty funny. So that's it on that. Anything else on comics? So now, definitely let me know what you think when you've read 119, or we can cover it, I guess, in the next episode. But
yeah, I'll be caught up by then. So
okay.
The other comic I wanted to talk about was this is actually a surprise. I bought this thing because it was pretty much just for speculative purposes, given how crazy zombies are, and I'd read that the first run had been sold out and all this stuff. So it's Afterlife with Archie. It's an Archie comic. So anybody's familiar with Archie, it's Archie and Jughead and Betty and Veronica and all that stuff. And I haven't read an Archie comic since I was like 5. So anyway, pick it up, and I'm gonna just sell it on eBay or something, make a couple bucks. I decided to read it. Holy cow! This was a fantastic read. So it has none of the silliness. First of all, the writer is, and I'm gonna pull a Kirk here and butcher his name, Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. But the artwork is by Francesco Francavilla, who Kirk and I both, we bow at his altar. We love this guy. He's awesome. And so the whole gist of it is that Reggie, who's the antagonist in the Archie realm. Reggie's gets in a fight with Moose one night, and he's driving home, and he hits Hot Dog. Hot Dog is Jughead's dog, and Jughead, he kills the dog, and Jughead comes walking into, and I didn't realize this until I was reading this, but Sabrina, the teenage witch, she's an Archie character, and I guess I might have remembered that from years ago or whatever. But anyway, so he brings her over and he says, can you bring Hot Dog back to life? And so her and a couple other witches, they kind of look at try to see what they can do for the dog, and they're like, no, we can't do anything. If you brought it in when it was kind of dead, then we could have done something. But he's like mostly almost totally dead, and therefore, we're not going to mess around with it. So when Jughead walks out, she's, Sabrina puts a hand on his shoulder and she says, you really loved Hot Dog. And he goes, yeah, just about as much as you loved Salem. Salem. I believe that's her cat's name, Salem.
Right.
And well, that resonates with her, and she gets down the Necronomicon. She runs a spell, and she goes out to Jughead, and she does this spell for Hot Dog. Hot Dog comes back to life. Bad things happen. He bites Jughead, and then it's just the cascade. So it also happens to be the night of like the Halloween prom, so everybody is there in the school when Jughead comes back, and he ends up biting Mr. Dithers and the school principal and somebody else, and then it's just it's now all the kids are on the run, and the thing is that it's a solid story. It's great writing. It has all of the antagonisms between all the characters. Betty and Veronica fighting, and cat fighting over Archie, and
right,
Reggie,
the traditional Archie stuff.
Exactly, Reggie being the jerk that he is, and Moose being the lunkhead that he is, and the artwork. Frankavilla doesn't do anything bad, ever, and it's such a good book. I cannot recommend this.
Well, he's perfect for that style because he's got this retro horror book, 60s pulp, 50s pulp kind of style that really just took, because I've read the first issue and I agree with you on all your points, and the thing is that he's got this, like, immediately it felt like I was reading Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how his style, his artwork looks. So
yeah,
I agree. It's perfect man for the job.
Wholly, just completely. Can't recommend this book enough. A big surprise.
The thing that's amazing about how he achieves that is because his actual Francavella's actual, it's very simple style. His drawing. If you look at things like his eyes, they're just line in a circle.
Right.
It's like there's very little noodling. There's very little, overdone. It's very simplistic. But he gets such power in his composition and in his color. The way he colors things just completely communicates that pulp feeling, and it's makes it really powerful.
Yeah.
And his use of blacks too, just a fantastic example of how to use shadows and blacks to make a focus on a panel and draw your eye in it and make an emphasis. So yeah, I agree. I think he's done a great job with that, and it really was a big surprise. It's got a lot of credit and a lot of praise in the industry, and has had a lot of success. I think people totally were not expecting such a quality product. From Archie. They were expecting Archie.
Exactly. I was expecting all the cheese and all that stuff in it.
Right.
And Sakasa has just managed to keep the flavor of all the characters and everything, but weed out the interaction, the cat fighting between Betty and Veronica is it's funny. They got their little barbs that they go at each other, and it's good stuff.
Well, it was smart on their part. They made a decision to do this. I think haven't they started a superhero line as well? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, and like they have, I think, the original Shield and stuff like that, and from the 40s or whatever. Yeah, right. And so it was smart on their part, I think, to say, let's not aim this at our Archie readers. Right. Let's aim it at the adult readers, the traditional comic book readers, a wider audience, and I'm sure it's bringing a lot of people to their fold that they wouldn't have gotten if they hadn't done it that way. Yeah. So smart on their part. Well,
since we're still on the subject of artwork, I had come across this thing on it's a Kickstarter campaign. It is a I'll put this up on the Facebook site for everybody to see, but it's a Kickstarter campaign. This guy did a what looks like a classic, like something you'd get out of Grey's Anatomy, an anatomy chart. I'll hold it up, see if you can see it on the screen. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. So it's like a page right out of Grey's Anatomy. It details 350 different types of zombie. Okay. So, and basically it's, You've got fast zombies, slow dumb zombies, occult aliens, true undead, killers, biters, and then each of these are coming off. Imagine like your nerve system. There's like one nerve that comes out, and then there's branches that come off of that. And yeah, so 350, including space zombies that he has on here. Viral, supernatural, alien invasion, headshot living, writhing, severed limb zombies, voodoo, cannibal, rotting Etruscan corpse zombies. So this campaign.
What's the premise of the campaign? What's he trying to do?
Just put these things out. This map of the zombies. The campaign is over. He has 526 backers. It ended like 4 days ago. Okay, so all he wanted was his goal was $1,000. He raised $20,300. This thing, it's pretty cool. It's 24 by 36. Takes you on a tour of every imaginable type of zombie in a visual format. That's pretty cool, man.
That's awesome. So what's it like, a post? It's going to be a poster or something?
Yeah. Yep.
Holy cow, $20,000 to do a poster.
So you know how
Not too bad.
I know. So the next one is, you get stretch goals once you reach a certain limit. So his stretch goal on here was at $10,000. He'll draw a new poster map of a different subject based on a different genre. So can't wait to see what that is.
That's very cool.
So
speaking of Kickstarter, did you see Frank Cho? And speaking of artists, did you see Frank Cho's Kickstarter recently? I think I sent you an email on it. I'm not positive. He's got a book he's doing, how to draw beautiful, sexy women, right. the Frank Cho way. And he was looking to, he's got a publisher that's going to publish the book for him, but he decided to do Kickstarter himself rather than, do it traditionally through a traditional publisher. And, I think they wanted to raise $30,000 to produce and distribute the book.
Okay.
He raised $150,000.
Oh my Lord.
I want to say. So there was this funny interview I saw with him, and they were asking him, what's his feeling about, using Kickstarter and stuff. And he said, well, I've got to finish my contract with Marvel. He does a lot of covers for Marvel, and I think he's doing some interiors as well. And then he said, then I got a couple little, projects I had promised some other publishers. But after that, he said, I think I'm going to focus on producing books through Kickstarter.
Absolutely. Why not?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, $150,000 for one book. He could do that once a year and he's set, man, So,
wow.
Yeah. But he's Frank Cho, guy's
That's
freaking
true.
internationally renowned and one of the badass artists there is, So
Yeah.
I love his stuff. So, but speaking of art, I did a recent piece for the Walking Dead cast. They're the other another Walking Dead podcast that kind of got me into the idea of doing podcasting. Jason and Karen, and they do a fantastic show. And actually, Jeff and I are going to be guests on their show on the 24th of this month. So I'm not sure when that show would be. Probably 3-4 days after that, I would think, or a couple days after that. We're going to talk about comics. We're going to talk about Z-Girl and the Four Tigers, the comic that Jeff and I do together. We're going to talk about Walking Dead and stuff like that. So it should be a lot of fun. But Jason had thrown out back in November to his Facebook audience a challenge to do somebody to illustrate this kind of running joke they've had on their show about zombie Hawaii. I don't know if it's around a vacation or what, but it's just this idea of like, what would the zombie apocalypse look like in Hawaii? And so I took the challenge and did this piece of this couple. They're like sunbathing next to a pool, and there's basically all around them is the zombie apocalypse just unfolding and caving in on them, and they're just like totally not ignoring it, but oblivious.
Yeah.
Oblivious, yeah. And there's planes falling out of the sky and buildings burning, and so it's pretty funny. And so they're going to do some prints of it, and some nice 11 by 17 prints. And as part of our Jeff and I's appearance on their show, they're going to do a contest and to give those prints away. So for anybody listening that might be interested in getting one of those free prints of that of that art, I will post it up on our Fighters Facebook page, and I'm not sure what the contest is going to be, so you'll have to watch the Walking Dead Cast Facebook page for that information, or as soon as we know, we'll post it up as well. But I want to make everybody aware of that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being on their show. It should be interesting. We both think very highly of their podcast, so it should be fun.
Yeah, they just won a huge Entertainment Podcast of the Year award, and it was a pretty big deal. And so they really, they went down to the Walker Stalker Con as well. Yep. They were invited down by the Walker Stalker. I guess those two guys that put that show on also have a podcast and are friends with them. And so they came down and they moderated a whole bunch of panels. And so they get all the everybody from the show has been on their show. All the cast, the showrunners, Nicotero, all those people have all been interviewed by them. So they've really, they're doing a great job and continue to really knock it out of the park. So we're looking forward to that.
Speaking of posting things on the Facebook site, one thing I had sent Kirk yesterday that he saw, I'll post it up as well. There's this short film that's going around. So it came out a couple days ago. It's called The First Wave. Zombie Apocalypse, The First Wave. And I just found out today that it is actually kind of like a teaser for a larger movie called, I think it's called The Third Wave. And the gist of it is that and it's short, it's like six minutes long. And it's about this girl who she's given a cure for the zombie virus. She's part of one of the first ones to get this, this cure, whatever it is. And but the thing is that you're in two places. You're in the present where she just has this 1,000-yard stare as the doctors, treating her and giving her an examination, and then you're in the flashback where she's younger. At one point, running with, it looks like her father, and they're being pursued by zombies and blah, blah. And then there comes a point where her father goes down and he's getting, he tries to hold the mask off as she tries to escape. And these are all, it's not told linearly. These are all just like jump cuts. And, she'll turn, look out a window, and then you're back in the past, and you'll come back to the present. And, but the gist of it is, and it's what I think is really cool, is that, so she becomes a zombie at some point, okay? But yet she gets cured. But yet once she gets cured, all the memories of what she did as a zombie start coming back to her. So she starts getting, and it's like, it's really interesting. Where's the true horror, the horror of the whole being a zombie and doing what you do, or this recollection of all the things that you did.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I thought it was really well done, and I liked it, and I'm glad to hear that it's going to be that's a prelude to a feature film. One thing that just popped in my head, though, is that, and I haven't seen this myself yet, but I know others that have. The BBC has a series that's about post-zombie apocalypse and integrating survivors who have now been, given medication that has keeps them from, in other words, they don't get rid of the virus, they're only able to control it. So they're now in
the flesh, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And that was supposed to be really good. The second season is coming up soon. And it sounds very similar to that, kind of like dealing with, or it looks like this movie is going to deal with the same similar kind of issue of, how, like you're saying, how do you cope with the knowledge, if that remains with you after you're healed, of what you did, and would that make it almost impossible for you to go on and lead a normal life?
Now, since we're on the subject of talking about this is clearly something we haven't seen before, or maybe it's on In the Flesh, or it's in a novel that we haven't read. But as far as we know, and if we're wrong, let us know on Facebook, leave a comment. But as far as we know, the recollection, being cured of your zombieism, we may have seen, or most likely haven't, but you definitely haven't seen that recollection that comes back, that someone has. So it's, that's like a little spin on it's very rare that you see little spins on the genre, it's pretty much the same kind of thing. So I got another spin on the genre. So seriously, it qualifies as like a B movie, but yet the name of the movie is Slither. I'm channel surfing the other day, and I'm just zipping through channels, and I come across this thing. It's called Slither. Made in 2006. It stars Nathan Fillion, Elizabeth Banks, Michael Rooker. Now, the reason why I stopped on it was because I saw Michael Rooker was going to be in it. Michael Rooker, as everybody knows, was in, from Walking Dead. Not exclusively Walking Dead. He's been in a lot of other things, but for the purposes of this show, that's where he made his name. So it's about an asteroid, a meteor that crashes here somewhere like West Virginia or someplace, a little bit south of the Mason-Dixon. This comet, this meteor comes, it hits ground, cracks open. Okay. Michael Rooker is married to Elizabeth Banks, and he's not getting enough marital extracurriculars off of Elizabeth Banks. So he leaves the house in a huff, goes to a bar. When he's at the bar, he meets this little hussy, and they go off into the woods like you do. And they kind of
maybe like you do. Speak for yourself.
I'm just
maybe like we did.
Okay, like
in the past.
So he, they start getting a little hot and heavy, and then he breaks up. He's like, "Oh no, I can't do this. I'm married, and there's a commitment to marriage, and blah blah blah." And he looks over, and he's like, "What is that?" So it's the dialogue to this point has been kind of cheesy, and it's been pretty Sam Raimi-ish. And they look over, and there's like this gelatinous goo laying on the ground. And, like anybody with 2 functioning brain cells would do, you pick up a stick and you poke it, right? And it's like, what is this thing? And the thing opens up and it fires a dart. I swear it was like this little flechette, just like 6 inches long. Hits Michael Rooker in the chest and just kind of burrows its way into his stomach. And then disappears. Now, the girl who's with him, she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And again, it's just, movie idiocy where you're just like, "Oh, all right, well, you look like you're okay now. Well, let's go home." And just so, and then Michael Rooker starts to change, of course. And when he gets home, he's kind of like in this zombie state almost, right? He's just kind of almost like Frankenstein. He's just kind of shuffling along. And the next time we see him is he opens up the refrigerator, and the camera's in the refrigerator looking up at Michael Rooker, and he just goes, "Meat." And he grabs all the meat that's in the refrigerator, pulls it out, closes the door. Okay. So he's walking around the house like he's never seen the house before, and then one thing leads to another, and Elizabeth Banks comes in, and she's like, "Oh, honey," his name, Michael Rooker's name is Grant in the movie, and she's like, "Oh, Grant, I really should have, fooled around with you last night." And so they start to, do their fooling around, and when they're done, and he's just it's like he's never seen her before, like he's never done this before. And the next thing you see is she's at work, and she's whistling and pouring coffee in the lounge, and a colleague comes up and is just like, "Why are you so happy?" And she's like, Elizabeth Banks says, "Oh,
this movie sounds horrible so far."
Yeah. Well, so she talks about how she's like, "Well, Grant and I, we got it on, and it was like he was exploring me for the first time. It was fantastic." So the gist of it is that Grant is infected with this creature, whatever it is, and he impregnates this other girl, this other woman. These tentacles come out of his stomach, and that's the impregnating vessel, and she gets pregnant, but it's her entire body blows up. She's like that kid from Willy Wonka who eats the purple stuff, and it's pretty soon, if you can imagine a kickball with a face on the end of it, that's how swollen and distended she is when Nathan Fillion and the other cops show up to find out what's going on. And then she bursts. Now, when she bursts, all these like foot-long little slugs come out of her, and then like millions of them, and they just run everywhere. And what they do is they go in your mouth and basically into your body that way, and turn you into a zombie. Okay, and everybody who gets infected by these things, they've got the lust for meat, and they just start eating other people, and it's just so on and so on. So all that nonsense aside, what happens is that because Grant, Michael Rooker, because he was the father, the progenitor of all this, that consciousness is now in every zombie. So when Elizabeth Banks runs into a room and there's like a couple zombies there, like munching, they'll look up at her and they'll call her by name and start talking to her like they're Grant. So it's like a board mentality with
That's weird.
all these characters. So I thought it was interesting. The movie is, it's one of those things where I can't. It's not good.
Sounds like a classic B movie.
Yeah, but it's not awful. It's that comfortable right in the middle going. You know what? Yeah, I might watch this. Nathan Fillion has some great lines in there, and
he's good. He's good.
The special effects it's a Sam Raimi movie,
Yeah.
But the hive mentality where each of these things is just a spawn basically of him, I thought was
that's cool. That's cool. I saw recently Warm Bodies on I think I watched it on HBO.
Yeah, how was that?
Well, I read the book and about a year ago. And the book was fantastic. And I have to say, they did a fantastic job of recreating the book. It's actually it's been a big good year for that. I don't know if you saw the recent Hunger Games movie.
Oh yeah.
What was that one called?
Catching Fire.
Catching Fire. I thought
fantastic.
I thought it was actually maybe perhaps even better than the book.
Oh, there's no maybe. The book, I thought you were going to say the first movie.
Oh, blew the first movie out of the water.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But, traditionally, movie translations of books have always fallen short for me. And so I was pretty impressed with that. And then Warm Bodies, I thought was another good one. I thought they really did a great job of it. If you haven't seen it or know anything about it, it kind of ties into what we were just talking about in terms of your consciousness and as a zombie and your memories and recollections after you're healed. But the main guy, I can't remember his name, R, I think is his name in the movie, R, because he can't remember his name. All he knows is it started with R. He starts to remember some things, and in the Warm Bodies universe, the zombies they eat anything human wise, but they cherish the brains because it gives them a momentary, almost like hallucinogenic experience where you experience the memories of the person who you just ate. So as zombies, they don't have any memories. They're just there. But when they eat brains, they get these sparks of past memories from the person they're eating. So it's like, it's like getting high, I guess. So that's the big motivation for that. But, they also have two divisions. They have regular zombies, and then you have these things they call the bonies, which are like over time, the longer you're a zombie, you start to get even more like, I guess, lost in terms of not having any memories or recollection of anything, and they start decomposing down to the point where they're basically like skeletons, and those things are like vicious. They're more like an animal prey, they don't move slow, they move fast, and there's just no, not that there's any rational ability to be reasonable with a zombie, but with the bonies, they're just like the next stage of evolution, I guess. So there's kind of a division of class structure within the zombies, which I thought was cool. And then the premise is basically that this one zombie starts to kind of have consciousness or personality. He encounters this girl that's in a group that's out looking for supplies, and they're part of a walled-off city, and he and his group of zombies attack them. He ends up killing her boyfriend and eating his brain, and then gets the memories of the boyfriend's experience with the girl, and he starts falling in love with the girl, and it starts making him have more memories and more thoughts and more consciousness, and he ends up saving the girl in the same crisis where he ate the boyfriend, and bringing her back to where he's staying, where it's the airports where he hangs out with all his zombies, and he kind of like protects her and starts to communicate with her, and long story short, he falls in love with her, and helps her get back to the people. And then the more he spends time with her and the more she starts to accept him, the better he gets. And the premise is basically that, through connection with people and through feeling emotions and feelings again, you can start to heal from this and come back. And it was cool. It was an real interesting twist on the genre. It's funny, we've been seeing. I just want to add that we've been seeing the zombie genre evolve. I think the last couple of years. I guess it had to happen because zombies have been with us now so strongly. I mean, the trios of zombies, Frankenstein monsters, werewolves, vampires.
Right.
It always fluctuates as to the monster of the season. But zombies really started to get popular in the 80s and just have really not lost any speed. They've gained, if anything. And but to be around that long, I guess, people are wanting to see that concept evolve. And just like you and I felt, it was time for a zombie hero, and therefore developing Z-Girl and the Four Tigers and kind of exploring some of this stuff, I think other creative people have also said, let's take this idea and push it. I think was there a book you were telling me about too? Was it called Breathers?
Oh yeah.
And that also, doesn't that play with the genre?
Yeah. There's that one. There's. Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking about that, how I'm surprised someone hasn't written a Twilight saga with zombies.
Well, the Warm Bodies is on that par. I mean, it's better than Twilight if you ask me by a long shot, but it's on that par, kind of. Yeah. And I think that it's reflective of the audience and the creators wanting to, take the zombie genre and continue to work with it, but continue to try and push its envelope and do some new stuff with it. What we saw initially was, the Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead, George Romero zombie. Then all of a sudden we started to get some different takes on it, like 28 Days. They're fast. The remake of Dawn of the Dead, which had them fast, and that was kind of the new solution or the new twist. And now I think we're kind of, looking at, well, what happens post, after zombies? What happens, to them if they, what if you're actually inside of zombie? What would that be like? And just kind of pushing the genre.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see what the next evolution of the genre is, and it's like one of the things we always talked about, that every movie was just running from these things and
right,
lopping their heads off, shooting them in the head, whatever it is, and to put these little nuances to make each movie stand out a little bit, or each concept stand out a little bit. What's the next evolution going to be past this?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Well, and Kirkman's playing a little bit with it too, because and he's not really from the point of view of the zombies. His zombies stay pretty constant, and the idea of them and how they are, it stays pretty constant. But it becomes so clear. It's becoming so clear in his in this war story, 12-issue war story issue, that more than ever, the human on human violence is the big enemy. Right. And there's even a sequence in the most recent issue, I think it's 119, where they get done with this big battle, and there's zombies all around, but they just, they don't care, because they're all focused on, it doesn't, it's not, it doesn't, they're not that big of a threat anymore. The real threat is the other humans. And it's really sad, because I mean, hopefully it wouldn't be like that, but it just is sad that, in all of that, all this death and destruction and everything else, that humans, or at least the fear is that human, and therefore we're seeing it in creatively expressed in art, but the fear is that humans would just continue to, to annihilate each other, even in the face of this horrible, enemy that everybody would have.
Yeah.
They would get so accustomed to it that then they would get back to the real important business of, warring with each other. So anyway. So then what do we got? Some news items?
I think you've got a couple.
Yeah, some show related, some Walking Dead related, some not. There was some news today and yesterday about Johnny Depp being supposedly pursued by Marvel for Doctor Strange. I thought that was kind of interesting. I think some people are getting all stressed out about it, but I think he could do a good job. I would hate to see them make Doctor Strange weird.
Right.
I don't think, you know what I mean?
Don't make him like the Captain Sparrow.
Yes, yeah. I think as long as who's the guy that did Batman? The director, Tim Burton. As long as Tim Burton doesn't direct it, I think we'll be all right. But I definitely could see him doing that, And then Michael Douglas, I guess, has been cast as Hank Pym in the Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, rather than
someone younger.
Yeah, well, I guess they're going to have him having, been developed maybe the science behind the shrinking and growing, and then they're going to have the guy. Who's the guy that they chose to be Ant-Man? It's a comedic actor.
Oh, Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd, right? I guess he'll be the guy that implements it or uses it. San Diego Comic-Con announced this week or last that they're no longer going to sell multi-day passes. There are no more 3-day or 4-day passes. You can only buy single day.
Yeah, this one I gotta research and find the logic out behind. And I just, my concern is that this is going to be. I wonder if this is going to be a new trend. And for a convention that's near and dear to us is New York Comic Con. So is New York going to adopt the same kind of thing? I want to find out why San Diego did this. It doesn't make.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw the article. I didn't read it in depth, so I don't know what and actually, most of the article was just about people's reaction to it. Most of it being negative. I mean, San Diego draws from all over the world. Who's going to want to come out there if they can't be sure that they're going to have 3 or 4 days to be there? I guess you'd have to go in and try and buy individual tickets for those days. But if maybe you could get Thursday and Sunday. Well, that kind of screws you up. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you can't. So it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is. But I agree with you. If you do look into that, I'd be interested to hear what their argument is for it. AMC has confirmed that season 5 will start in October. No big surprise there. They've also confirmed, I guess, that Talking Dead will be renewed. I have to say, I really love watching that show after the show.
Which is different because you didn't used to like it.
No, I didn't, and I think it's because a lot of times the after show stuff on other series and other things that I've seen where they do after show stuff, I don't know if it just was never any good, but this one has been really good. I think that it's funny, but it's also they're clearly really, really fans of the show. The guy that hosts it is really good. He's the guy from Nerdist, Chris Hardwick, and he's clearly a serious fan of the show. And again, it's been, they have all the main characters on the show and all the actors and producers and stuff. So you get really good insights and observation after the show. So I've really enjoyed it a lot. Kirkman said, let's see if I can get the exact quote here.
Kirkman.
Kirkman. Let's see.
Kirk was at a point in his career he could just basically say whatever he wants.
That's right. This is from January 10th, so that's 5 days ago, on Wet Paint. And he was asked at the Image show, which, I was thinking about the other day. We should probably try and go there next year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to pitch, just to spend the day pitching.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was asked if there was any bad blood between him and Marvel. Because remember, he worked there in the early 2000s on Irredeemable Ant-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Marvel Team Up, and of course, Marvel Zombies. And he said, quote, "I don't have bad blood with Marvel per se." He answered, quote, "aside from the fact that I think they're a poorly run company that is partially destroying the comic book industry." End quote. He said there was a lot of good people working at Marvel, but he took a shot at the upper management, calling them extremely short-sighted. And he doesn't want to launch a back-and-forth feud, though just presenting his criticism as tough love because he cares about Marvel and wishes they were doing a better job. And then I thought this article was funny because it said, that sounds very similar to the executive-level complaints both Frank Darabont and Glenn Mazzara shared about The Walking Dead when they had to exit stage right. So I thought that was kind of funny. And let's see. They released 5 new action figures this week for Walking Dead, which are really, really cool. They look really nice. Glenn and Maggie, your favorite couple.
Oh, jeez.
Tyrese, which is cool. Merle, which is very cool, and a charred zombie.
That was my favorite one. A charred
zombie, and he looks like he's been on that barbecue, man, for an extra long time. So I'm assuming that's in conjunction with the Tyrese doll. But
I'm gonna buy him. I'm gonna put charred zombie next to right between Glenn and Maggie.
Right. Did you see the 1/6 figures that that they did of Michonne's 2 zombies with no arms, and no jaw? Yeah. No, they're 1/6 and they're awesome. Oh man, I'll send you a link to them. They're freaking sweet. If they ever do a 1/6 Michonne, I would definitely be tempted to pick the 2 of them up and get her and have a beautiful display of that.
That would be a cool display. Yeah.
Yeah. Empire of the Dead, Ramiro's comic book, zombie book, done in conjunction with the artist Malieve, and I guess that was due out last week. It's been pretty highly anticipated, but it did not hit, to my knowledge. I'm going to find out this week when I go to get my books what the status is on that. And that's all I had for news items. You got anything else on that?
I got nothing else. That was about it. That was pretty thorough for
not bad for kind of winging it there. Make sure you visit the Biters Facebook page. Make sure you like us. We'll try to get back to posting stuff here, and we really love your, if any comments you have, if you have any comments about the show, about what you think we do right, what we do wrong, please check out Z-Girl and the Four Tigers at zgirl.org, also at the Z-Girl and the Four Tigers Facebook page. Try to like that, check that out, and
head on over to Southgate Media Group for all the other podcasts that they have.
Man, they're growing.
Yeah, it's crazy. So a couple of their favorite ones, besides this, Biters being a favorite, is I'm a host on Disturbed, which is the American Horror Story podcast.
That thing is kicking, man.
Yeah,
you guys are you're just really, man. It's like we're Biters of all. How many shows are there? 12 now, I think, on the network. And I think Biters keeps coming in at 3rd, and then Dracula, I think, is 2nd. And you guys, man, on that Disturbed is just like, it's like totally different universe. You're like
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of listeners away.
We just I don't know how we're pulling it off, but we're definitely appreciative of it. But at Southgate Media's, they've got as Kirk said, they've got Dracula. They have an Almost Human podcast. Once Upon a Time. Cuckoo for Who is pretty popular over there as well for Doctor Who fans.
Yep.
I mean, they just have tons of podcasts. Orange is the New Black. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So check out their website, southgatemediagroup.com. And I think on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up for this week.
Now, I think our hope was that we would do 2 shows before the first episode of the second half of the season 4, but I don't know. It doesn't look like that to me. Does it to you?
It depends. If we've got enough to.
Well, let's see date wise here. Yeah, I guess we could. It's the 9th, right?
So we do one if we do another one in like 2 weeks, we can.
Yeah. So like the 29th,
we
could do.
So we'll see everybody in about 2 weeks with more information and news.
Right, and don't forget we'll be on Walking Dead Cast on the 24th.
Exactly.
So we'll post about that, and make sure you enter over there at their Facebook page to win a print of the art I did for that Zombie Hawaii, and we'll post that up at our site as well so that people can see that. So,
please, by all means, let's make this interactive experience. Leave comments, leave questions on Facebook, and we see people are responding to the shows and are liking posts and things, but we want to hear from you, and we want to have a dialogue going. So
yeah, absolutely, some give and take would be great.
All right, everybody.
All right, man.
Thanks everybody for listening, and
thank you everybody.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Perfect. Take it easy, man.